Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time. So we're on our Christmas hollybobs at the minute. So this episode is going to be a compilation episode of some of our 2021 best bits. This week we're talking to Chris Bard, the author of the Financial Wellbeing book and podcast, James Herbertson from Bayswater College, and Sue Fish-Poole from Accuro. And we've got some chat as well, Charlotte.
Yeah, we're doing intro chat throwback, so retro gaming, which is probably both of us discussing that, living in the moment, and random word generator, which is how I used to come up with our intro chat topics.
I think you still do. And on that note, have a little listen.
Bye. Oh, not bye.
Anyway, what other subjects would you like to talk about?
I am literally ramping up the random word generator. Dependence.
You're a dependent? Christ on a bike. When are you going to start earning a living? Okay, so that's that one. Next one.
Complication.
I'll tell you what's complicated. The amount of money you cost me. Oh, Christ on a bike.
You signed up for it. Don't say it's like my fault. You signed up for it.
Okay, what's next? What else can I insult you with? You put 100 words.
Okay, I was going for 10. Laboratory.
You weren't made in a laboratory.
That's good to know. Favourite?
Are we just going to go through a list of words?
Yup.
With me making a comment about each word? I don't find that particularly fun, so we won't do that.
Aquarium. Do you have a favourite fish?
Is that your question of the podcast?
Well, it is now.
What's your favourite fish? Is that genuinely the question of the podcast?
What is your favourite memory of water?
Oh, now that's interesting.
Let's go with it.
Okay, what's my favourite memory of water? I remember, I used to be really into swimming as a kid. And I remember, and this name won't mean anything to you, I don't think, once meeting Duncan Goodhue, who was a famous British swimmer back in the day, and famous baldy, so maybe that's why when I get there I'll be aspiring to be Duncan Goodhue, and another swimmer called David Wilkie at my local swimming baths. So one of my favourite memories of water is not actually out on the open sea, it's meeting some swimming legends.
That's why I said water and not ocean, because some people don't like the ocean. I'm not a big fan of the ocean, but I do like water. But I don't like the beach. It's sandy and salty.
Well, I also like. I've got last couple of years. I've got really into kayaking, and Sophie and I. You're not a big fan, but Sophie and I have been out on the kayak on Lake Windermere in the Lake District when we had the opportunity to have a little holiday between lockdown 1 and lockdown 12. And yeah, so I think being on the water is quite nice. And when we took that motorboat out and had a little scoot around, that was good. Yeah. What's your favourite water memory?
Do you remember when we used to go to, because after 2012 we had the Olympic swimming pool in London. It's basically on our doorstep. It's like half an hour drive.
Yeah.
So we used to go down there all the time, and we went to the Olympic swimming pool all the time. And I remember once they had that giant inflatable thing there, and you got to run along this course on the water. If you didn't make it, you just went splash, and we got thrown out the big one because I was swimming improperly.
Oh yeah. So in the Olympic-sized swimming pool, apparently, you need to be have a conventional swimming style. Charlotte got told about 2013, 2014 that her style was okay, but not conventional. And I think that meant just not quick enough, because you had a traffic jam of people waiting for you to swim a bit faster.
Fun,
so yeah, it was good fun. That is, I mean, architecturally, and I think architecture's art. What's that got to do with the architecture, how it smells?
I don't know, I just like the way it
Surely
smells.
it smells like all other swimming pools, just full of chlorine.
Just stronger. and
Yeah.
you can smell it from outside as well.
Yeah.
Like you walk past the vents and you can just smell it.
Yeah.
It's a little car park and you walk past the glass windows and you can smell it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing. I mean, it is an amazing building and an amazing swimming pool. When we're allowed to go swimming again, first trip back to swimming, we'll go there. But also, if you're in London, check out Docklands Water Sports Centre in Canary Wharf, because I've been kayaking there a couple of times. Once on my own, just with my headphones on, just kayaking around, and once with Soph. And it's amazing to have a little paddle around, views of Canary Wharf, brilliant thing to do. So, what's your favourite thing to do near water, and what's your favourite memory of being near water? I love that question.
And I'm joined by a man who called my love of my childhood console retro.
It is retro.
It's
retro.
Chris Dames.
You know what, right? So officially, Charlotte is a retro gamer at the age of 27 or however old I lose track. Because she has got a Nintendo DS, and that is officially now a retro
DS,
console.
I've got a DSi and a 3DS. There's a difference.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
The DS was the original one,
Right.
and it didn't have a lot of the cool features like the HD or the 3D
You do realise like there's stuff like PlayStation 5's out now as well.
The 3D features.
It's got 3D features.
I mean,
Amazing.
sure they had to create a whole new version of the system because the 3D features gave people migraines, but that's not the point.
What?
That's
Did
not
it?
the point.
Did it give people migraines?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've bought a console that is officially known as giving people migraines. Is that what you've done?
Yeah, I can just turn the 3D off.
Oh, what is the point of having the 3D if it's going to give you migraines?
The 3D is cheaper than the 2D because the 2D has...
Because the 3D gives you migraines. Hello? Are you coming in or staying out or shaking it all about? I was just shaking it all about. We are joined by a girl who's officially the wobbly... You can't show your belly on the podcast. What are you doing? Is officially the wobbliest girl I know. It's Sophie Dames.
Wobble on!
We were just talking about the three. Apparently, Charlotte's new console gives you a headache, and that's a good thing.
I was trying to make a teddy bear.
Was you? How's that going? How's that going?
Not that one.
Why?
The thread keeps coming out.
Okay, fair enough. Did you come down for a reason, or just to see what we were up to?
No. I just came. I heard, and I wanted to know what you're talking about.
All right, see you later then. Bye. I know that most podcasts start with a decent amount of shambolic nonsense, but we start as we mean to go on.
My retro gaming wasn't actually on my list of things to talk about until next week.
Okay.
But, you know,
We can talk about it this week.
I can shuffle.
The thing is the reason you've got it so cheaply because it actually gives you the 3DS gives you headaches.
Also the fact that they were released when I was like 10, 11 years old,
Right.
which was about 5 or 6 years ago. And the console's good because even without the 3D feature, the 3D turned on, you still get 3D graphics. It's just...
Well, like every console since 1992, you mean?
Still get the 3D graphics, they're still good quality, they're still HD, you just don't get the pop out of the screen 3D.
The pop out, the bit that gives you the headache.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so Charlotte's got migraine-inducing console. That's her big Christmas news. And I'm joined by a girl who is living in the moment. It's Charlotte Dames. How you doing, Charlotte?
I'm doing good,
Good. So talk to me about living in the moment then, because I quite like that concept.
Because I'm trying to take less and less pictures of things because, like, if you take pictures of things, you're going to miss it happening in real life. And at the moment, my phone is dead because I broke my last charger. So I've been without a phone since yesterday, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, you know, you get used to it, don't
Yeah,
you?
I haven't had a phone for at least 24 hours now, so
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, and I think that concept of living in the moment and just being in a situation where you experience what's around you as opposed to just experiencing it through a screen. I mean, I enjoy taking photos.
Yeah, so do I.
But sometimes you've just got to put your phone down and
Look at it.
look at it, experience it. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We're joined again by our esteemed producer, the man who is clear on what he'd dunk in his tea and not. It's Russell Dames. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. And talk to us about what you think about living in the moment.
Yeah, well, I'm living in the moment.
Okay. Yeah. That's insightful. Cheers, mate.
Kindness
Environmental edition. And that's the first one is a bit London. It's greener, healthier, safer. One of London's busiest streets goes car free. One of London's most famous thoroughfares has been reclaimed from the motor vehicle as part of plans to create a green oasis in the heart of the city. A section of the Strand that has been choked with red buses, black cabs and white vans, is now home to a temporary skate park. The facility, located outside Somerset House and King's College, London, will remain throughout September. And while plans are finalised to turn the 3-lane stretch of the road into a place for relaxation and recreation.
Those behind the project, dubbed Strand Aldwych, say they want to create a car-free cultural space where art is made and displayed, and pedestrians can amble. The road is a gateway to the West End theatres and nearby Covent Garden.
Canon Ivers, who leads the project, said, "I see a transformed Strand Aldwych as a place where the creative process is made visible, where art is made, not just displayed, where performances are rehearsed, not just performed." He added, "Reclaiming the Strand from traffic for people will create a greener, healthier and safer city, freeing up the wonderful St Mary le Strand Church and making the street visually rich and resilient." Love that idea. And it's amazing that particularly in London, we're doing loads of great work about ensuring that we can all play our part in terms of protecting the environment. So amazing work by them. And I think I've just added a new place to visit in London on the list.
So I have a few people who, because I've been on Twitter for quite a long time, and occasionally you get somebody who's just starting and they say, "What would be your tip for a social media policy?" I have a very, very simple social media policy. Don't be a dick.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, agreed.
Do anything you like, just don't be a dick.
Well,
Sorry, go on.
My big one is assume that you're never going to change somebody's mind on Twitter, ever. Because again, weirdly, I think social media is amazing, but it's not the medium for engaged, nuanced debate. So I used to think I could pretend I could change people's mind on it, but you definitely can't.
So just back to that, because I strayed us off a little bit to that, but number 4 is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
Yeah.
And for me, that is the biggest thing in life. I mean, there's lots of studies. The great one is the Harvard study on happiness, which you can Google, which is just mind-blowing. But there are 5 areas of well-being, okay? This is according to Gallup polls in a really good book called Well-Being. There are 5 parts to well-being. They are career, social, financial, physical, and community.
Yeah.
And what is absolutely crucial to understand is that it's not about which one of those is most or less important.
It's getting the balance
right. How they all work together.
Yeah, gotcha. No, I agree.
It's the independence of those 5 areas of well-being that we need to build on at the same time. If you have, for example, I don't know, massive financial and career well-being, because you're doing a really high-paid job, you're a high flyer and getting paid loads of money, but you got no friends and your family hates you because you're never at home, you haven't got well-being.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's about having those 5 in balance, and I think we could learn more from that on a community, on a governmental level. That it's not all about growth, it's all about GDP. It's about those 5 areas building in balance.
And the interesting thing is, there's always, as you said, there's always an element of imbalance, but it's just being conscious of that and trying to get the balance back.
Absolutely.
You know what? If I'm being perfectly frank, last couple of years, and this is something I've been thinking about quite a lot. I've probably been a bit of a rubbish friend. So I've been a good dad. Business is fine, economically fine, all good in that. But then you have conversations like this, and you go, you know what? There's always gaps, and being conscious of those gaps and doing something about it is the key, isn't it?
It is, and I think you've nailed it there, Chris. It's about being conscious of the gaps, know thyself, and that's not a one-off event. Know thyself is an ongoing process forever and ever and ever. Somebody like me, I probably go over it a bit too much too often, but it's all about working out what you want from life and spending money on that, and keep doing it, keep working it out. I guess if I will respond with my own honesty, Chris. There's one area of my life that I find frustrating. It's that my friends are rubbish at going out.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I live in a village, and in my village, the local pub is half empty most of the week.
Yeah.
And I wish I could. There's nothing makes me happy than just going to the pub for a pint or two in the middle of the week with a couple of mates and having a yak. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's an area of my life that I continually work on.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Talk to me about. I mean, it's interesting when you talked about the experience you went through when you had your muzzy head. What got you to the point where you asked for help?
I think there are massive generalisation, Claxon. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there are 2 types of people in life.
Can I ask our editor Russell just to put the sound effect on in post? Just that we need a klaxon in our life, Russ. So if you want to add that for Chris's benefit, that's fine. We'll do our own klaxon. It's all good.
Yeah, why not? Generalisation, Claxon. So there are 2 types of people in life. When you are criticised, do you A, assume the other person is an idiot, and how dare they criticise you, or do you B, immediately criticise yourself and think that you're a terrible person?
Yeah.
And I came across this recently. I definitely won't name the person, but I tried to give some feedback to somebody, and I tried to make it as positive as possible. Honestly, I did, in a very appreciative inquiry way, but they immediately got defensive.
Gotcha.
And the next day, they apologised and said, actually, I think you probably had a reasonably good point, but I wasn't really receptive to it at the time, and I reacted badly, I am the sort of person that if I get some criticised, I immediately go quiet and go away and work out how I could have been such a complete idiot as to have stopped everything so terribly.
There are variations on that. That is a spectrum, Chris. You haven't got to go and beat yourself up for 3 days to do that. You do realise that.
But I am at that end of the spectrum.
Okay.
So actually, for me, asking for help is very, very easy because I'm always assuming that I'm wrong. And that I'm an idiot and I haven't understood it properly. So I'm constantly checking myself. So when I sat there and I going to the GP in itself was asking for help. When I realised that questionnaire was no good, I had to find out other ways to work out where things were going wrong for me.
I suppose the interesting thing for me is when you've had that parental push to gain knowledge and education, you're moving into environments where potentially that push might not be there, in environments where, in countries where the push might be to start earning money for the family at quite a young age. How do you encourage the importance of education in communities where it may not be such a focus? Because we're lucky here, right? You know, do you think there's a desire for education in those communities?
If If I look what's happening in Zimbabwe, I think it definitely depends whether you're male or female. That's
Okay.
a big difference. So one of the big drop-offs in education in rural Zimbabwe is when girls get to, age of menstruation and so on, then there's a massive dropout. First it starts with missing probably at least a week every month, and then after then the parents stop paying their fees.
Right.
So then there's a real sort of taboo around that sort of education piece generally in some of the rural areas. So that's a big determinant, which is obviously not great.
No.
I think only so much can come from yourself. I think if you're brought up, like you say, where it's being drilled into you, the purpose of education, how much can you influence? I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg. I mean, when I look there, if you create, we've done a lot of infrastructure projects, so you've got a situation where people were taught either underneath a tree or in mud huts. If you suddenly can give them an opportunity to, right now we've actually got classroom blocks, then you address, okay, they need to have a source of water so they're not walking like 7, 8 or more kilometres a day just to go and get drinking water. If you can take that away by putting, say, a borehole in, and then you can provide proper sanitation with proper toilets. It's like a bit like a sort of legs of a chair. They're all important.
Incremental change, right?
And then actually sometimes it's the things you don't see, but like actually putting decent housing in for the teachers. So now the teachers aspire to work there. We've had schools where they were like 50, 60 students, and within literally a year have grown to like 250 students, are beacons of the community. Rather than teachers running away because they get a better service or back to the cities, they now aspire to work there. You
want
create
a
this
cornerstone of the community.
So I think the environment is very important, and it's not just purely your environment at home.
Yeah, and I interestingly, I think that focus on the aspiration, building something that people aspire to be part of is an interesting way of positioning it. Yeah. So we've talked about a little bit about the projects, but tell me about one of the projects specifically.
Okay, so our first project was in it's near Ipanema in Rio, in Brazil. It's an organisation called Mais Caminhos over there. Those only Portuguese listeners, excuse my pronunciation. Mais Caminhos kind of means more pathways, giving a kind of literal translation. And the idea there is that they run an after-school club, and it has two purposes, I think. One, we're funding the English language classes, so people get the chance to learn English, and hopefully at the end they're aged from 12 to 16. So the idea being when they get to the end, then hopefully they have a higher level of English and then more opportunities. British Council did a really interesting study that you can virtually earn double just by virtue of speaking English in some careers like trade, tourism, etc. So it's very important. So that's one purpose, but also by funding the teachers and be able to have more hours of this after-school club, then they're being kept off the streets, avoiding getting into a life of crime, etc., etc.
So the social influence as well.
Exactly, it's big social influence. And so I'd heard about the organisation by sort of mutual contact and so on, got in touch with them, and just to see the smiling pictures of people that are now studying English, their pride of when they get their certificate at the end of the term and so on. And we really want to build on this as a model. And they're a great organisation. I mean, they're actually quite similar to us, just based in a different location. They have a Portuguese school, so they have a lot of normally Americans coming down to Brazil and other South Americans, but some from Europe as well, who come. And then they saw, wow, people wanted to volunteer, and so they started with having volunteer people to help in the same idea, like the after-school club. And so we said, well, why don't we help fund a teacher? And so it's really starting to blossom. So we've now got a couple of classes going there.
Amazing.
And it's going well. And that's kind of been our model. So actually the one we've got running in Medellin in Colombia, it's actually called Fundación Caminos. They don't all have to have Caminos in the name. They just have them. They start a slightly different way, but similar sort of idea. Where this guy Eddie, when he came from, he's Dutch and came from Holland, and he went over and he was doing like a kind of football coaching for the people in the comuna, they call it there. It's like the equivalent of the favela. And he said you can be part of the football team, but the one condition, apart from play football presumably well, was you have to go to your classes, you know, in the secondary school.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, just like there was the aspiration, as you say, to be part of the football club. And to wear the shirt. I think they had all the orange shirts. But they had to go to classes, and so attendance suddenly went up massively. And then not only are they getting the football, but they're getting a better education. And so we did a similar project. We started with them. We're now in the second term with them again to give them English language classes. So it's really giving them, you know, life skills that they're learning by playing in a team. That sort of process of training. They're now attending more their classes, education, and then we're giving them English language as well. So I love those kind of holistic programs. And so on.
So education related to life, but also learning some of the softer skills they'll need to develop. Help me understand a little bit about what so if there was one thing, because and again, the testimony you gave at the start was interesting in terms of the boy who was benefiting from a Curo service struggled to fit in at school and not enjoy his school as much. If you had a magic wand, what was one thing you'd change about education or society to make it easier?
Is there one thing? I don't think one thing would work. I think it must be really tough if you're in the education sector at the moment. I know, for example, I mean, my daughter's at a school that has responded really, really well to the pandemic. I think they've been really, really good. But I know that it's like all of us. We're all hit with something, aren't we? And we'll have to learn how to deal with it. I actually think that teachers and the education system needs to. I suppose it's because I come from an era 30 odd years ago. There just wasn't as much red tape, and the thing that is really difficult for everybody now is to be resilient, and that is really, really tough. And I think we cotton wool the kids a little bit too much, but we do that because we know that there are these external factors that are, you know, it makes them really vulnerable. But I just feel that my daughter is in a position where she's not able to find out about things and learn about sort of, you know, just the normal way life goes, really, because they're so protected
sometimes as well, right? You know,
I think that you learn so much from failure, and it teaches you how to get up, brush yourself off, and go again. So gosh, I don't know what one thing. I honestly don't know how to answer that, because in my mind there's about so much. But make it holistic as well. Just make it about the whole child, not about academic results, not about getting that really rounded human being out the other end would be just wonderful.
I think you're right. You know, I think the education. Your daughter's a teacher. I'm assuming.
No. My little one's in a secondary school, but yeah.
So I think the interesting thing is, I don't know, and again, because it's such a big machine, education, I don't know whether it's changed enough from when we were at school to just adopt this new age. You know, it's, you know, we're in this world where, you know, just the results you get on your GCSEs and A levels aren't the world anymore, are they? It's, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah. And when we were at school, I don't know about you, there was no expectation to go to university. It wasn't, and then it seemed there was, and now it seems to be going back again. And I think that's more realistic.
I mean, there was from my dad. And I didn't go. I had started a job and sort of got a started studying professional qualifications as opposed to going down the sort of university route, and that worked really well for me personally. Charlotte will go, but then there's always that element of getting the balance right between you know what I think you know. We're as a family, and I don't know what you're like, Sue. You know, I had this conversation yesterday about you know, what do we want from our kids? You know what I want? I want my kids to be happy.
Don't we?
That's what I want.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
want.
all you need, isn't it? You know, just be happy in who you are, who you're with, and enjoy your life. Just enjoy yourself.
Enjoy it, and I want them to have purpose, and I want them to be educated, and I want them to do have a career they love, because I do think that contributes to purpose and happiness and well-being. But you know, don't kill yourself to do it. You know, it's having that more rounded perspective. I think you're absolutely right. Now, one thing you mentioned, because I feel like we could talk about life all day, but I'm conscious that your husband has got a training session in the same room.
Does, yes.
So we need to crack on, don't we? I mean,
you don't want grunting in the background, Chris. You really don't.
You know, I've done my star jumps and my burpees this morning already, so I feel like I'd be experiencing earlier vicariously if I heard it. But one of the things that we talked about is lockdown and the impact on all charities, but particularly charities where an element of the support you provide is about getting people together. So I'd imagine it's been a tough year for Acura.
Yeah, but you know, my operation colleagues have been fantastic, because they very quickly, you know, everyone was in shock, I think, last March, but very quickly they were able to work out how they could deliver online. Zoom has been a real bonus, it has to be said, but all the clubs were able to revert to online delivery. So we would have a rota really, and a program where in the evenings, because most of our clubs operate in the evenings, you would actually have a Zoom session. It doesn't suit everybody. We do have some of our members who would actually not find the Zoom community easy, because it can be chaotic if you have a lot of people on a Zoom call and it's too noisy and people are cutting in on each other. It just doesn't suit some of our members. But we kept connected with everybody by having personal calls, welfare calls, really drop-in calls, talking to families and the parents as well, and saying, you know, how's it going? Can we help? What do you need? And sending out packs. So, for example, one of our young members, Ash, he really didn't find the Zoom calls were good for him at all, but we sent out a quiz that was tailored towards what we knew about him and what his interests were. And his parents actually came back and said we had the most lovely hour where we actually sat at the kitchen table doing the quiz that Acura had sent, interacting with our son, who normally doesn't interact with anybody. So there was a real value there in what we were able to give him, and he connected with his own family. So it's different for different people. And the good thing that we've been able to do is, because we know our members very well, we've been able to tailor sessions towards some interests. So for example, with our adult friendship scheme, we had a baking competition, because we know there's at least 5 that are mad baking fanatics. It wouldn't have suited the guys that were more interested in gaming and stuff like that, but then you have maybe something that will suit them. So you have to just be careful that you're sort of ticking everyone's boxes at some point, really.
It's just been about providing that support virtually.
It is, and phone calls and doorstep visits. So during the Christmas, we had people in different tiers, because before Christmas we had a bit in tier 2 and a bit in tier 4, but we were able to do a doorstep visit with a present to see people face to face. You really learn how people are getting on, even if you're only seeing them for 5 minutes on the doorstep. And that was great, because there are a couple of people you're able to pick up on and go, we need to check in more there. We've got to make sure that this is, that this is okay. And they were really successful. People really enjoyed that. And absolutely everyone was given the feedback, can't wait until we could get back in face to face again. But we did really try and give as much support as we possibly could, when you're thinking about the fact that fundraising wise and money coming in, income is diminished, so you have to furlough some staff. So you're trying to do the best you've got with the resources available.
I don't know why you said bye at the start of the intro, Charlotte, but this is the end. And we hope you have a lovely week. Now you can say bye.